spinning. Okay, and then now go ahead and try to hit go live on your Instagram if.
Okay, do I click stream this to your audience in my StreamYard page up in the upper right?
You can try that. If not, then on Instagram,
Okay.
there should be a go live button on that same page that we had the setup. If we close out of it, and then we'll have to do a new stream key.
Oh no, I see go live. I'll just click that.
Okay, cool.
All right, so it should be going.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yay. All right. Well, we are back. We have a very special guest, and I'm so grateful to see Dr. Neel today joining us in the hot seat, the Q&A style version of our Life Lounge podcast inside Life Network. And this is such a fun time because we get to get really deep with some questions that our members come in with. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So we get a lot of questions across the board. And Dr. Neel is so generous with his time to help answer some of these questions. So welcome back, Dr. Neel. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good to be back. I had some time to have a quick lunch. And then the funny story is, I totally thought this was happening an hour earlier. So I raced over from a dentist office that I ran to go do body work on a patient before his tongue tie release.
Wow.
And then, got the right things released, which is fun to find that happen right there in the chair so that when the dentist came in to do that laser release, then it was going to be an ideal setup for him. So, and then I raced back here and I couldn't get into my phone, but all the reception was off. And then I got back here and it was a big relief when I'm like, oh, you know what? I have the time wrong. So no, instead of 20 minutes or 15 minutes late, I was early. So.
I'm so glad. I know, gotta love it when that happens. That doesn't always happen in that direction, right?
Right.
So, oh my gosh. Well, grateful for you in between your patients, back and forth all the time. You help so many people on a daily basis, and we're just so grateful to have you as an expert in Life Network. And I've already learned so much from you, and I know I always still can learn even more from you every single time. So I'm grateful for this time that we have together today. For those who are not aware of your background and what you do, Dr. Neel, and I'll drop a link later on to the recording of our original episode that we did a deeper dive on that so they can get the full story. But do you mind giving a quick synopsis of that?
Yeah, so totally. I'm have been practicing for 17 years. And in the last 9 years, I've specialized in integrative, interdisciplinary body work, starting as a chiropractor, but then delving into many fields and using a lot of different techniques out there, but then my own system that I created to free up bones, muscles, fascia, organs. Those are the four main tissues, and then nervous systems and but the floor of the mouth has been a work that I've created and that I specialize in. So I've said integrative airway and feeding chiropractor as like a description because people are like, what do you do? How do you describe it? I'm like, well, the best term is that, although I'm more multidisciplinary. So that's kind of the beginning. So that would explain why I was there. So even though I see people all ages, babies to adults, for any issue, because some people don't even know they have a tongue tie or floor of mouth tension or any of that. That's not why they always come in, or that's not why they always are referred to somebody who is a specialist in that field who refers me in. So, so I'm just here to problem solve, working with the body, and also bringing in like an awareness of like, preaching to your choir, right? So your audience and the fellow healers on this, if I'm finding EMF sensitivities, if I'm finding toxicities or even off-gassing of plastics or chemicals, I look for quick ways to help bring relief there in the moment with various tech I have on hand and things so that I can find out what stressors are affecting somebody. And these days, so it's so that I can see the floor of the mouth loosen, but more than that, so the whole body can free up and become supple and also regulated and strong.
Goodness. Yeah. Amazing. And I know you've helped so many people, and we took a deep dive into some of those specific stories on our last one, and it does seem like you are always, and that's how most people are, like you learning and growing and adding more and more to your tool belt, right?
Yeah,
the areas of people that you help and continue to evolve your practice. And, but yeah, So good. So I would love to get into some questions. We've already had some come in already. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those up actually from a bunch of people already that I put, Q&As on Life Network and on Instagram. So we have a lot of those coming in already. So first one, okay, this one is, how does mouth breathing shift the nervous system compared to nasal breathing?
Yeah, I mean, mouth breathing, like simply, it dysregulates us and it shifts or disrupts the way we get in carbon dioxide, or the way we get carbon dioxide out.
Mm-hmm.
But the part about nasal breathing is like, well, yeah, our nostrils have those cilia, those receptors, and they filter air.
Right.
So, so I would just say, like, if we're breathing air in through the mouth, and for those people who just are stuck with that, or like you're just temporarily doing that, sinuses, it's like you're gonna make it. We're gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But breathing in unfiltered air means we're breathing in toxic air or just less optimal air, and
Right.
that's gonna agitate our nervous systems, decrease our immune system through increasing cortisol, and that means you're stressed. So you're
Mm.
gonna shift that autonomic nervous system in a stress direction versus a relaxed and regulated direction.
Okay, that makes sense. Sometimes people don't have a choice because maybe they're sick, right? And they
Right.
can't, they can't, but as much as possible,
Yeah.
trying to breathe through the nose, right?
Yeah, that's so it's like whenever we can breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. But I mean, some people like this is why we have filters. Thank God for those
I
amazing air
know.
filtration systems that we have, or even
Yep,
people that are less fortunate that don't have air filtration systems.
I know.
Um, just your simple HVAC system that
True.
helps too. I mean,
It
it's
does.
it's so we do have like the ways that people can mitigate that, and then of course. If we're not getting air in through our nostrils and we're breathing in through the mouth, some people don't even know that's what they're doing. So it's
Mhm.
happening. And so, how can we be aware of it? But through breath work, through consciousness and
Right.
interoception. And then I know even Ben loves to talk. I've heard him talk about this, and others talk about breathing in through one nostril versus the other can even more specifically hack into and play into that
Hmm.
system to help us regulate our nervous systems. But yeah, so that is just mouth breathing creates like hyperventilation versus hyperoxygenation. And if
Yeah.
we're not oxygenating enough, then we don't get that clear thinking. And obviously the O2, the oxygen that suffuses and fills our blood, promotes this movement through our body, so we have the right kind of movement within our cells instead of
Okay.
stagnation too. So
True.
so it's kind of like even on a cellular level, it's like what we don't move, we lose. It even applies to that. That
Okay, very powerful. And I like how you talked about, because not everybody can have all the air filtrations, good air filtration systems throughout their house too. I love the Jasper one. I have that one, but
yeah,
yeah, just even getting outside, but also depends on the air pollution where you live too.
totally,
But
yeah,
just fresh air, oxygen, vitamin D, Mother Nature, it's powerful.
yeah.
Okay, another one. It's come in from about floor of the mouth tension. What does that actually feel like in the body?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use like emotional words that like people talk to me about. Even, or I can talk about my own like floor of mouth
Yeah,
tension
yeah,
too, but it's like it just feels stuck. You feel bound up. You feel like tense all the time. You feel, or just you have like once you stop and close your eyes, you find that you have to like down ramp and like breathe to regulate your nervous system versus by default being regulated. And it looks like then I'll talk about what does it feel like in anatomy of the body,
right.
versus anatomy of the emotions. And I think like we can say, yeah, we have tension in the mouth, but a lot of people don't know they have tension on the floor of the mouth. It's not an area most people feel.
It's very true.
So
You
so
can
I
feel it.
think
Yeah, I feel it
go
in my
ahead.
jaw, but we've talked about this before with me too. Like I definitely have
Yes.
that tension there, but you don't know that at all. Like you can't really feel it. down
And
there.
that's what you just said is what I was gonna say. It's like
Yeah.
most of us said like if you can infer that like if you have tension in the pterygoids, those jaw muscles, or the external masseters, or
Yeah.
like you just you feel it at your TMJ and you have issues there, or
Yep.
some people feel it in their lip muscles or cheek muscles. Some people
Okay.
feel it in their sphenoid or the cranial bones. Some
Yeah.
people have the headaches. Some people have the
Yep.
tight traps. Some people have the tight SCMs or the scalenes,
True.
um, and even the sternum, and and you're gonna feel
Mm.
tension in your diaphragm and your abs. You're gonna feel a right tight psoas. That's a lot of us have that. So usually
True.
the origin of a tight right psoas is floor of mouth tension, or somebody's
Interesting.
gonna say piriformis on the left. That's floor of mouth tension, and the
Wow.
hamstrings and the calf muscles and the we could get more specific on like the gastrocs and the soleus muscles and the Achilles tendons, and then some people it wraps around to where they feel like that shoulder, the subscap, the lats, the serratus. Like not everybody
Yeah.
this is the reason, but a lot of people, that's a pattern where when you have
Goodness.
floor of mouth tension, you might like be focusing, you might be foam rolling all
Hmm.
these muscles, stretching, doing amazing work. I mean, I
Hmm.
love all this stuff, all the techniques and all the systems out there. It's like, well, they help us a lot,
Right.
um, because we're just like, how can we get that? But you can floor mouth tension feels like when that right psoas just won't loosen, or when you
Interesting.
keep needing to work on it. For me, I used to have to work on my psoas all the time. I
Okay.
used to have to work on my piriformis, work on my traps, work on my SCMs, and when I work on the floor of the mouth and the interconnected areas in the body, um,
Hmm.
and I figure that out. It's like I rarely need to work on these areas to feel good.
That's
So that's
crazy.
how I know that there's lingering resistance or tension.
Yeah. Wow. So, and it's so interesting because people have no idea, but these are the symptoms that our body is kind of like knocking at us. Like we have all these other symptoms showing up in the body, but it could be something that we just really have no idea because you can't really feel it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and
Yikes.
some people are like, and I love this, but some people are digging away at the jaw muscles, or digging away at even buccal massage. I love this thing that's out there in the aesthetics world and the
Yeah.
spa world. Buccal is another word for cheek, buccal
Okay.
massage,
Okay.
orbicularis oris. Nobody says that, right? But that's the lip muscles, so we just say lip. And you get
Yeah.
those massaged, and the pterygoids. I love that work, and but the root of that is floor of mouth tension. So often when you get the floor of mouth freed up, and then work on, I used to say 70 areas in the body, but now I'm teaching the four main areas in the body, and I've
Okay.
I've distilled it down because like we were all going crazy when I would say at a training, okay guys, there's my airway map has 70 areas in the body, and people are like, did you just say 70 or
That's a
7
lot.
or 17?
Right.
And as soon as I said that, I'd be like, I know, guys.
It's
And
overwhelming.
so people kept saying, dentists kept saying, can you just tell me top 10? So I created a top 10 list that I presented in San Francisco at a symposium.
Yeah.
Even 10, it's like, yeah, that's a lot to keep on your mind of like, what are the
True.
10 areas? So I'm launching the floor four as a way for people to understand these four main areas. That if you work on
Okay.
these four areas in the body, but there's a lot to them. But if you work on the four areas, the
Hmm.
floor of your mouth tension will drop, and then
Mm.
your lips, your cheeks, your jaw muscles will loosen, and then you get this upstream, downstream release of tension through all 70 areas. That's pretty phenomenal.
Wild. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what are the 4 areas?
Well, the general is the head, the throat, the sides, and the feet. And then, when I do my trainings,
Mm.
I teach how to get into the nitty gritty areas within these four main regions because,
Yeah.
we could say that the head is about, um, if there are healers out there that are like, craniosacral, chiropractic, osteopath, hey, you'll know way more terms than I'm saying now, but I'm trying to like generalize. But,
True.
if we're working with the head and the cranials, that's one region, and that can affect your pituitary, which is all about the hormone flow, and your pineal, which is all about melatonin and regulation and even being able to tap into your intuition. The
Well.
throat is about so much, right? The parathyroid, thyroid, the throat bone called the hyoid, and all the other muscles that we mentioned. And then we have the sides, which are about the
Hmm.
QL, the the diaphragm, the kidney. It could be the liver, it could be the pancreas, the spleen, there's a lot more with the stomach and the, and that too. But then the feet work as a diaphragm also. They're one of the, there's research that identifies 9 diaphragms in the body, not just our belly diaphragm, but other functional diaphragms.
Mhm.
And then I'm working on research to put out there, well, a bunch more, but let's just say at least 11 diaphragms, maybe 14, depending on how it goes. So
Okay.
there's diaphragm just means any horizontal place in the body,
Okay.
any horizontal place in the body that regulates the flow of interstitial fluid, which just
Mhm.
means cell to cell communication. And
Right.
so the feet, which is, you have the way, the ankle is a junction of the tibia, the fibula, and then the foot. And the foot moves like this in that flexion and extension mode. So that in the plantar fascia, that's a diaphragm. Our feet are a diaphragm. And
That's so
so
crazy.
if we don't have movement, great movement at the foot, that kinetic chain gets stuck all the way up into the hips and above. So yeah, from the head to the throat to the sides to the feet, those areas are like keys to unlock the floor. And when you can unlock the floor, that's the ultimate key to unlocking the entire body. And then you get
Goodness
this flow.
gracious. Wow. Okay. So I do like how you did break it down into the four.
Yeah.
I can see how that'd be a lot more helpful for just, myself, but obviously the people that you're teaching this to. So you do have your upcoming tours that you've been on already, and that you're coming to Boise, and I'm going to be out of town, which I'm so bummed because
I
it's
know.
so great to see you in person. But so for certain practitioners, who can go to these events and learn about this?
Yeah, like I jokingly say, like I have tongue press that's out there as an online course for anybody with a tongue. And then the floor is going to be something for anybody with a floor. But then my practitioner level trainings are anybody who works with anybody with a tongue and anybody
Yeah.
who works with anybody with a floor. So you kind of like, if you got a mouth, if you're helping anybody with a mouth, you need to come to my training.
That's amazing.
There are some people who are more like in the niche that would be like, I need to come because this is pivotal to my work. And
Totally.
those people would, if like, so if anybody's listening, tuning in, or somebody that is one of these, then it's like, it's going to become the industry standard within these fields to know the floor of the mouth work.
I love
A
it.
lactation consultant,
Mhm.
a myofunctional therapist, a craniosacral therapist, craniosacral fascial therapist, osteopath, chiropractor, physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech language therapist. I probably should name a bunch more,
You
but
said
that's at least.
dentist too, right?
Dentists are there, yeah,
But
totally.
not like top.
They're not going to work in the mouth, like on people physically. So
True.
that's the
To
only
relieve.
reason that sometimes but no, dentists need to come too, because usually at least one comes to every training, because they're like, I'm going to work on myself with all what you taught me. And now I know
Really.
when somebody's in the chair, or when somebody's coming in and they're getting all this body work, and they're seeing so many amazing people, but now I know um, what screening to have in mind for these 4 main areas and more. So now I know if they're not getting those
Mm,
areas addressed, they might be missing a pivotal area that's going to help the dentist do what work they're doing. So it's at least a screening tool
true.
for all these people. And then
Right.
it's also ways that you can work on people and work on yourself. Because
Right.
most of us are like, we need it too, right? So we need this help too. So
Totally do. Yeah.
become your student, and then and you'll learn more, because you're going to learn how you feel when you get this work done. And I try
Mm.
to work on everybody to some degree who comes to my trainings, to
Oh, cool.
demo on them what feels like what this work feels like. And so that's when
Amazing.
sometimes their minds are blown and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. That's what's hard to convey sometimes, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll tell people and they'll be like, okay, because I haven't even met you yet in person to work on you, but
I know.
you
I'm
know
so bummed.
somebody's like, that makes sense. I've had intraoral work. I've had all this. That makes sense. And then
Mhm.
they get it done and they're like, oh my gosh, that just like, I've never had that. But yeah,
Mm.
what I say is like, I do use my intuition, and through a lot of downloads, that's how I found this work. Was I didn't make it up. No way could I make this up. I had
Yeah.
no idea. Definitely my daughter being born with a tongue tie 9 years ago was what put me headfirst into the field
Right.
for
Right.
problem solving, what worked and didn't work with her. And then I would just be open, listening, you know, and then just hearing, feeling, sensing, and through those inputs and downloads, and that over time, over years, that's what formed the floor of the mouth work. So it was given to me. I created a protocol out of it. But when I go to these trainings to teach others, I'm like, like there's so many amazing practitioners and healers,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'll add in there like personal trainers, fitness trainers. That's who I had at this last training also in
Cool.
Phoenix that I was just at.
Yeah.
It's really pivotal for them too, because you can like say like, oh, if I might not work in the body tissues or anything like that, but usually like a personal trainer, you're gonna like teach somebody how to foam roll, teach somebody how to work on
Hmm.
an area and activate certain muscles. The crazy thing is the floor of the mouth, when you get it regulated, it turns on muscles that have been turned off,
Oh wow.
and
That's
it
interesting.
it down regulates hypertonic muscles that won't stop firing. So it
Okay.
works at the level of the brain, the brainstem, in a crazy way that is good. So you can see like instantaneous shifts, which would normally take a trainer like weeks to months to get somebody to experience.
Yeah.
It can be instant with floor of mouth work. You
Oh,
can
that's
turn
crazy.
on muscles right away, and there's no lag time. It's like
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah, I could see how it, like you said, anybody could help somebody with a mouth. It's
Right.
beneficial. I mean, even like you said, just like with personal trainers and things like that, because they care about their clients. And if their clients aren't getting results, or if their clients are in pain and they've tried so many different things, or like they want to help them, this is another, tool in their tool belt. And this could be the
Yeah.
unlock for it.
And then I'm just gonna like, even if you don't have, well, to leave the joke of, if you have a tongue in the mouth and you work with somebody who does, you can get this work done. Some people are like, my 2-year-old's never going to let you in the mouth, and sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
not, right? Or somebody who you can't get in the mouths because they've just had jaw surgery, right? I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
need to work in the mouth. We other practitioners that I collaborate with know this too, but it's wild when you can work in the body in these knowledgeable areas like the floor four or any of these other areas,
Right.
and you can see. Um, where even if you're not going to work in the mouth and check it, you can
Hmm.
see so much change in the body and in the face and the head and down, that
Hmm.
you can see, oh wow, and you can see their mouth can open so much like wider, that you're like, even if I'm never going to work on that pterygoid, that internal
Yeah.
jaw muscle, hands down there's no way that didn't just free up. So I also want to say that to people who are like,
Okay.
you know but I mean, for me, I work since those early years of exploring this, it's like everybody gets a full intraoral evaluation. And then I start working with checking people intranasally, because there's 3 bones that can be released in each nostril. And
Gosh.
so if they can't breathe, they're like, yeah, my mouth, I don't, that's not the problem. It's my nostril. I'm like, well, I do that too. And sometimes it's really powerful that needs to be worked on, but sometimes it's actually, this might answer a question that nobody's asking, but just in case somebody's wondering, if you free the floor of the mouth, and then the roof of the mouth can actually regulate alignment on its own without you touching it, the
Okay.
soft muscles at the back of the palate can loosen, and the roof of the mouth is the floor of the nose. So you can increase your ability to breathe through your nostrils just by freeing the soft palate, which can be
Oh
freed
wow.
up by working on the floor of the mouth too. So it's a
Oh my
cool
gosh.
flow.
Is it painful?
That's the thing. No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, it can be sensitive, but if you
True.
it can be gentle. It can be uncomfortable, but if you work
Yeah.
really slowly, um, it doesn't have to be.
And then I know a lot of times, like if people are getting like deep tissue work or fascia release, like, people cry because like emotions. Does that happen as well with this?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's definitely. I mean, you could, yeah, like getting the sphenoid released, or intranasal work, or any of these things can like unlock this kind of like current of river of emotions that has just been there. And some people are like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm not sad. I'm not even
Mhm.
necessarily happy. So it just, tears come because you're releasing. But some people, you can, they're going back and seeing something, or they're like, oh yeah, they're finding a release of like emotion that had been trapped in tissues that they didn't know how to release, and it just lets go too.
Gosh, that's cool. Okay, that's amazing. So bummed, but I can't see you in a couple weeks. um, okay, another question that came through Dr. Neal. This is from Danielle, and she says, "How can I tell if my child's tongue tension is affecting their sleep?"
If they sleep with their mouths open, likely that's a quick, easy way to check. If they
Okay.
move all over on the bed and they're you know, all over the place. That's maybe another clue. The most
Mm,
like, there's two things that you could say. A CBCT scan is an imaging study that does show the airway from a very specific imaging standard. So that's kind of a gold standard
okay.
in one way. But then having an assessment from somebody like me or a myofunctional therapist or a body worker who's knowledgeable about the mouth can, but even that, it's like you want to know, how is their tongue tension affecting their sleep? Well, like, yeah, so well, hopefully I'll do a few minutes at least of like, quickly
Yeah.
I'll show some way that you can work.
Yeah.
See, sometimes people don't know that there is tension until you free it, and then
Hmm.
you'll realize how tight or tense it has been.
Oh
And so
boy.
sometimes you won't notice that a kid or you is dealing with tension until you see that once you free that tension, you you enter into deeper sleep more easily. With whether you're
Wow.
wearing the Aura ring or whatever metric that you're using, you just
Hmm.
see numbers shift. Or yeah, like your kids like sleeping through the night or not moving all around, or
Yeah.
they're not mouth, their mouth is closed while they sleep. That could be some ways to check.
Okay, that's powerful. Okay. So then if somebody is looking for somebody to help them out with for their child or themselves or, anybody, is there a specific, or do you have a certification that it says like floor of the mouth certified if we're looking for people in our area?
I do have people on my website who have listed, who have
Okay,
taken
cool.
the floor of the
Your
mouth work,
courses.
and then as I go through and like, yeah, totally. And I was in Denver, LA, here in LA,
Hmm.
and then Phoenix and Boise, and then Chicago. And so yeah, so once kind of we get them all up, there's on my site there'll be a way to see who's learned the work.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like you said, it's going to become something that every single person who is a healer or practitioner, like this is an incredible add-on, and it needs to be a mandatory, I would think,
Right,
because
right.
it would help so many people that it might not being able to get help in other areas. So, okay, that's good. I'm gonna have to take a look at that site.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so Josh said, "Is there a best way to breathe during workouts?"
Yeah, I mean, it's like two. I think it. I think there's like two ways to approach that, because it's like, well, is your workout, um, if it's like a workout and you're just like in the gym or whatever workout area you're at, and you're just trying to get the most out of your workout. I mean, you would say nasal breathing, and then 360 breathing, right, where you intake air and then you just see that whole, um, your belly, and you see this like wave motion up to your chest, and you just see, your whole body expands.
Mm,
So there's a lot to say about that. I mean, breath workers, right? There's like amazing people who teach breath and
yeah,
breath work that's like their forte. So I mean, I defer to you all for that. But
right.
I also say, like, well, what's your goal though? Is your goal to like deliver an outcome where you're trying to accomplish a certain load or a certain time? Because for me, I'm a functional practitioner or a functional advisor. I'm like, hey, sometimes you take time to breathe in through the nostrils, you get into that parasympathetic state, you're relaxed. You're not
Right,
activated all the time to be at your highest performance level. So
right.
I'm not always like, do this all the time. I'm like,
Mhm.
I experiment with most things. And if I'm like, and most of the time I'm breathing in through my nostrils. But sometimes I'll experiment with breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and I find that my diaphragm is freer. And
Mm,
with some people, I see that where they try to breathe in and out through the nose, and the slow outtake of oxygen means that they don't get as much movement in their abdomen, and their diaphragm's
okay.
stuck, and they're going to
Oh,
underperform. So
that's a good point.
for me, I just would experiment getting air in through the nostrils. Huge, right? That's going to be filtered air, but we're not filtering air when we're breathing air out through the nostrils. So I think you can get away with breathing out through the mouth because you can get more volume out faster. And for me, if I'm sprinting or if I'm doing something with high exertion, I'm going to breathe out through the mouth for that short term just to get higher gains and higher output.
That makes sense. Okay. So definitely experimenting
Experimenting's
with
good.
it would be a good thing to do for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so then kind of a follow-up question about breath then. What's your take on the PNOE 10-minute breath test? Are you familiar with that?
No, only dabbled, so
Okay,
I can't speak to that with enough
that's
to delve
okay.
into that more fully. So yeah, I would say I'll leave that to those out there who are doing that.
Yeah, no, I'll get it. Okay, so Ava said, what would you say to someone who is hesitant to see a chiropractor because they associate it with forceful adjustments or discomfort? How is your approach, especially the soft technique, and the rest of it's on another thread, different from what they might expect?
Yeah, I would say, there's a lot of like chiropractors who are doing low force techniques, and they might
Mm,
call that low force techniques, and they might be doing activator with an instrument, or they might be doing vitalistic, or just lower intensity work, um, and that's good. Or like they might just, some people are like, they won't go see a chiropractor because they've had that experience, but they will go see a craniosacral therapist or a craniosacral fascial, so that's CST or CFT, or an
okay.
osteopath, because there isn't necessarily going to be a high velocity, low amplitude adjustment, which is typically associated with chiropractic. But like for me, with my work with babies and kids and even a lot of adults, it's slow movements and working on fascia, working on organs, working on those tissues
Yeah,
to feel that shift and change. And I love that. Then there are some people who come in and they want and need a quicker adjustment. And sure, I'll
true.
do that. But
Okay.
forceful, most of us like in the field of chiropractic are like, yeah, if we can refine our vectors and look for those specific vectors to deliver adjustments, we'll often find we don't need much force at all. So I
Mm,
think if, like, I just want to kind of also say that there's a lot of chiropractors out there who are doing low force or highly specific adjustments. And there's just too many techniques to list. So
true.
that is true. But I mean, for me, I don't like chiropractic is one facet of what I do, because I do so many other fields. Yeah, so soft technique
Right.
is one of the systems that I do, and it's
Okay.
stomatognathic oscillatory fascial touch. It's a mouthful, so I never say
That
the
is.
full thing. So how does that work? And it's like gentle nudging, just like I said. And oscillation means like quick movement. And so I might have
Mhm.
somebody's ankle, and I might just do that and dislodge tension because that releases. And so I think it's like also for me too. Um, Whether it's 30 minutes as my shortest appointment or 3 hours for some people,
Wow.
I leave enough time to sift through the tissues and emotions or whatever shows up, so that we reduce the stress and the apprehension and also whatever's getting in the way of that release. So I think it's also wise to take time as a practitioner, and see what's actually going on. And if we let ourselves
Yeah.
listen, we'll often find that no, I can see that the body doesn't want that. My
Mm,
intuition can tell me that this person's hesitating.
true.
Sure, like if I have them stop and breathe and talk through things, sometimes that's all we need to do, and then their body
Right.
loosens, and then it shifts really easily.
Okay.
So hopefully that's helpful.
No, that's very powerful because I do know I go to chiropractic quite a bit, but I know a lot of my friends, family that are very hesitant to go for those specific reasons. So I very much appreciate your intake on that, and just the the intuition of any practitioner, and helping a patient breathe through it. And many times they will probably be guarded. Certain movements might like there's like an automatic reflex or response, and they block something. But even just like giving it a moment and breathing through it, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is good. What's the smallest shift with the biggest impact you've seen?
Oh yeah, there's so much. Oh my gosh, there's so much to say. Um, I would say there's somebody who's like around 20 years old, and all I did was this gentle nudge to free up the parathyroid gland, and it was a very partial release on a day that I wasn't doing a full evaluation or anything, but I was in Denver and I was consulting, and I had this chance to. The dentist wanted me to see this person, and I did.
Mm,
And the dentist later asked me, she's like, "What did you do?" Because this patient was suicidal,
wow.
and
Oh,
never wanted anybody to touch. That person didn't ever want anybody to touch that person's body, right? So
okay.
it was just like a lot of different things going on with like fear and trauma and things like that. So
Mhm.
one gentle nudge on that parathyroid gland, it was on that, but that led that person to, uh, in this case, there was fear and paranoia, but there
Right.
also was a gland issue and a hormone issue. And when that
Okay.
freed up, it was so dramatic that that person ran up to me later that day and said, if I, could come see you and move where you are for 6 months and get work done,
Yeah.
what would that, can I? And I said yes in the moment, because you never say no to somebody who's got that much hope when they had
True.
none. But
That's a good
it
point.
worked out that we have people there in the area that are helping with me just offering a little bit of wisdom and guidance
Okay.
remotely, which is really what I love to do, because
Wow.
not everybody, it doesn't make sense for everybody to come to Santa Barbara where I'm located, or LA.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the one that stands out. It was back in March, so it
Gosh,
just
that's
is
recently.
so, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's, yeah, I know you inspire hope for a lot of people too. So, and you do help people remotely as well. So, can you touch on that really quick on how people can, if they're not able to come see you, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody just needs wisdom and guidance in their journey, you got some problem and it's so difficult to solve, and you've been to like 1, 2, 12, or 40 people, like maybe I can help. Some people are like, what does that look like, what do you even do?
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't, it's what I usually do is I'll do visual analysis, take history, and then I'll guide you, the person who's remotely consult. I'll guide that person in movement and self-assessment,
Okay.
so they can feel in their mouths or in their bodies where are things not moving. And we'll do mobility, and once
Mm,
I find and we find the area or areas, then we'll have them do body work on themselves or their baby or their kid if it's a
true.
parent,
Right.
and then we'll see change happen, and then I'll give them instructions, and then they'll be able to refer back to the video, because we'll record it. Um,
Mm,
so so it's not just one dimensional. It's like depends on what people need, and
true.
also it's not just me saying things. It's it's hands on, but it's not
Right.
my hands. It's me
Yeah.
guiding you in your work that you would do on yourself. Because
Yeah.
what I love to do in the office too is, I just had a mom brought a baby to the
Mm.
office. Oh, shout out to Ina Henry, who is the lactation consultant whose office I use on Wednesdays here in
Oh,
Woodland
nice.
Hills.
Oh,
She's
cool.
amazing. And so I get to
Mhm.
collaborate with so many, and being able to work out of her office is amazing, because
That's so
she's
cool.
referring a lot of moms that babies need help with feeding and other things. And so
Yeah.
I'll usually teach the parent how to do body work on their babies, so
Hmm.
they can do it daily, because it's you can't get to me every day, and if you
Yeah.
have one or more kids, it's like not feasible. So
That's
so
powerful.
it's very similar to that in one way,
Okay.
that it helps. So for people out there that
Yeah.
are looking for like answers, I love helping.
Well, it's an incredible gift too that they are learning how to be their own just helper or their child's helper. And you feel sometimes as a parent, like you feel like there's nothing I can do, and they're crying, and you're like you feel so helpless in that moment. So I'm sure you've just given so much hope and maybe sleepless more sleep back to many
Yeah.
parents. Okay. Another person is talking about posture. So what's the simplest daily movement to reset my posture during work hours?
You didn't even know it, Aaron, but I knew the next question was going to be the lead into my demo.
Oh, perfect.
So I'm not going to answer you with words. I'm going to show you. And
Yay.
so
I'm excited.
everybody, if you have paper towel, or anything you can wrap your tongue with, do that. It doesn't matter if you don't. I'll add that in as a thing, but you don't need it.
Okay.
We're going to start with you just moving your tongue, and I'll show you exactly what it is. So we'll do like a few minutes of this. So
Yeah.
first of all, I'm going to make it really simple and say, if you could put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, I'm going to have you do what's called lingual palatal suction. Shout out to Kat Staffield, who has worked with Ben with myofunctional
Yeah.
therapy. She was at my training that I did in Phoenix. She's
Oh,
awesome. But
cool.
so the myos out there know this really well, because this is your jam.
Mhm.
Tongue to the roof of your mouth, and keeping your tongue up there, open your mouth so you stretch the frenum, which is that tissue under your tongue and the floor of the mouth.
It's tight.
Add in this component, laterally flexing to the left and the right, but do it with your mouth, with your tongue at the roof.
Hmm.
Add in rotation, and add in extension. But now we're going to take it up a notch. So now I want to have you go ahead and close your eyes and do the same thing. No, don't do the same thing. Close your eyes and put your tongue to the roof of the mouth and do that stretch. Now open your eyes and keep that stretch. Who feels that change, right? Because then your biggest thing you might do is open and close your eyes to feel the shift. Next level is we're going to take your tongue and you're going to drop it from the roof. And now you're going to take your tongue and push the tip of your tongue into the floor of your mouth. That looks like taking your tongue and maybe painting the floor of your mouth. Side to side, back to front.
Tension there as well.
And then you're going to take your tongue and then you're going to use the tip of your tongue to map the roof. So you're going to go paint the roof of your mouth with your tip of your tongue. Back and forward, left and right. Good. Now you painted the roof and map the roof, map the floor. And then now you're going to go back into that lingual palatal suction. And you're going to do the same. We'll start with extension, flexion,
Wow.
But because I love to have mindfulness as part of that, then we're going to close your eyes.
Okay.
And you're going to get your tongue to the roof, but keep your mouth closed. You just rest. Tongue at the roof of your mouth, but with your mouth closed, so there's no big stretch. But your awareness is there, right? So be aware of your tongue at the roof, and just be aware of where your tongue touches the roof of the mouth and maybe where it doesn't. And then if you could direct your attention towards your feet, whether you're standing in the gym or wherever you're at or where you're sitting, and you feel your feet touching the floor. I love bare feet, but right now I'm wearing shoes because I'm about to see a patient, and sometimes I wear shoes when I see patients. And then be aware of your feet where they touch the floor. Be aware of your tongue where it's touching the roof. Direct your awareness towards the head, the top of your head. Just be aware of the top of your head. Be aware of the back of your ears. And then just let your awareness just kind of like glide down through your body like a ball on a, marble run, or, just imagine you drop a ball down a slide and your awareness is that ball, and you're dropping your awareness down the body, through your belly, through your hips, down the legs, into the top of your feet. Hang out at the top of your feet with your awareness for one moment. Put your tongue to the roof of your mouth if it's dropped, or be aware of your tongue touching the roof. Now direct your awareness to the bottom of your feet. And breathe in and out. Yeah. So that
Wow.
be a simple flow you do along with this is like exercise and meditation mixed into one.
Yeah. Is that something best to be done lying down or sitting? Because
I would do it both. I would do it do it standing, sitting, lying down. Try it in all those positions. Some people are going to want to do this on your left side or your right side down, because you'll find things unlock in those different positions that you wouldn't not otherwise. So have fun, experiment with it. If you kind of pair it with something, like some people are like, can I do it in the morning or at night? And I'm like, do both, because it's good for both, two reasons. If you do it in the morning, it helps energize you and keep you centered and regulated throughout the day. If you do it at night, it helps you relax and stretch and loosen and also enter into sleep more easily usually. So you could do it in front of the mirror, like right when you're brushing your teeth. And that's a fun thing to pair. But like you said, if you're doing it during work hours, depending on what your work is, just, you can, if you're sitting at a screen, do it right there.
Right.
And then if you need to walk around and take a break, get outside, get some negative ions and ground and get some fresh air, do it when you're outside so you can feel that too.
That's a powerful habit stack. I love that so much, especially for somebody who does, work, from home and a desk a lot too. And I do try to take breaks quite a bit and go outside and go walk for a bit. But pairing it with this, I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try it when I sleep tonight too, because I do try to go through breath work and meditation. But I think this would be more powerful because I did notice that relief when we were doing that.
Totally. And so, the habit stacking is huge. I do that with so many things. So you might find that if you do this before you foam roll, before you stretch, before you do anything you usually do to loosen and relax you, you may find you need less of that other thing and less time of that other thing. So I would kind of do this and then do the other things.
That's a good point. And is there like a recommended minimum time frame that you would do this?
30 seconds is
Okay.
awesome. Some people, if you have, 8 minutes, tongue press on my course, I have an 8-minute daily routine. So some people, you have a bunch of time and you want to do that, great. But, if you did it for a minute, it's going to make a huge difference.
And I noticed that already. So, so we will make sure we can link that in the show notes as well, the 8-minute course. But then people could just watch this replay
Totally.
and
Watch
learn how
the
to
watch
do
the
it
replay and you
for
get
sure.
updated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then also we'll be linking, website and everything too. So if they do want to find a practitioner who has taken some of your courses, and then, you're heading out on more tours and training more people. So I'm just grateful for all the work that you do for that. And I know you have a patient coming up, so I want to be very mindful of your time. We'll have to do
Totally.
another round, Dr. Neel, because I have more questions for you.
I
We'll
would
do
love
another
it.
one
Yeah.
another time. So you've been so informative and helpful. And for just to wrap it up, do you have any last thing that you would, feel called to say to the person watching this who feels a little bit off and they haven't been able to get anybody to help them out, or anything else you'd like to wrap it up with?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. If you know anybody in Boise or any state around there, you just send them to my event. Look at my website. I have my event there. Any healer, even if you're like you just want to learn it, you can come. I
Mm-hmm.
would teach anybody, or come to Chicago next month or in August, and then I'm probably doing one in Minnesota in September.
Oh, fun.
Or check out my online courses, check out my Instagram, check this out, and then tune in. I think the trusting your intuition is so important. So I do want to say that again and again. It's like trust yourself, trust your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
rely on amazing resources around you. Of course,
Sure.
that's why you're tuning in here, because there is a wealth of wisdom around you. But we also have a wealth within us. So if you can like
Mm,
think about that and enjoy that, and then yeah, I'm just so thankful to be here with you,
yeah.
Karie, and to have this time together. So really
Oh.
appreciate you and the team, and I'm so thrilled I get to be on it.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are grateful for your wisdom and just being on today. And again, I learned so much, and grateful for you. So where can people find you and follow you, Dr. Neel?
Dr. Neel Bulchandani on Instagram, or Neel Bulchandani on Facebook, or by now, if you just Google Floor of the Mouth and Neel, you'll find me, and
True.
tune in. Those are some of the main places I hang out.
Oh, good. We'll link those as well as your tour dates too, so people can either attend or share it, like you said, with another
Yeah.
healer practitioner that could benefit from this, because everybody needs it, like you said.
Yeah.
So it's so good. Dr. Neel, thank you for showing up today, and for everyone watching and tuning in and the recording later on. This is just the beginning. Try one of these shifts today and tag us when you do. We are at Dr. Neel Bulchandani and at Join Life Network on Instagram, or head onto the Life Network platform. And we would love to see you in there and cheer you on and support you. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Neel.
You're so welcome. Thank you.